That's what makes it even more interesting is because like I think we get the wrong facade of like how life should be for each individual.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get the ones that feel like just because I went through these stages, I should automatically get what I deserve or whatnot. Like
Right.
kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like your
Entitlement.
entitlement. When the reality is like every person is gonna have their own chapter and their own struggles, and it's just like that should be accepted that in all aspect of understanding how we grow as individuals, as human beings, regardless of what culture you have in your background, or what race you are, or what struggles your culture went through.
Right.
Because in reality, we are way far in the future now, with all the information and history, but yet no matter what, we are gonna still go through some tough times and our own loopholes in order for us to find out who we are and then get to share who we are and then be a part of society of who we are
At
and
that point in
entangling
time.
ourselves with other people with other
Yeah.
walks of life, because if we can just constantly hold on to the past or cultural history or back history, then we're always going to hinder ourselves from actually excelling as human beings of who we are as human beings.
Well, and that interaction with each other too,
Right.
and sharing the backgrounds of everybody. And it isn't always what happened or where you're at. It's what are you doing with it afterwards? Are you letting it get in your way of growth, or are you using it as a tool to grow?
Right.
You've got both ways, and that's what the interesting stories are when I talk to people. It's where are you today after going through all of that you did yesterday.
Right.
That's that to me. It's like listening to some of these high profile speakers, like a David Goggins, and hearing his fucking story. Unbelievable.
Right.
And that anybody could come out of that halfway sane and halfway normal and still have drive for life is an amazing concept. But then to do what he's done and come out of that background and be at the level that he's at, that makes it an incredible story.
Right.
So, and that's what I look at is who's going through tough times and how are they handling the tough times, and then are they wallowing in the thought and the idea, woe is me, I'm in tough times, or are they talking about what do I got to do to better myself to get out of these tough times?
Well, that's interesting too, because my position as a barber, I come across all walks of life, and they're all going to share their story. So in the position that I get put in sometimes, it's just like, we can all sit here and just keep David Goggins, the book is right there in front of me, can't hurt me. But it's like, the thing is, it's like with hearing all that, and in the position I get put in, it's just like, all right, what do I say? Do I give him my opinion, or you know, do I have an instinct of wanting to say what I should think that they should do, or do I just sit and listen and hopefully see their growth happen in front of me, or do I plant these seeds and hopefully that that they would know that it's growing, that they have to take care of it. So I try to find balance in all aspects, because one of the biggest things that I've learned too, and I'm pretty sure you have as well, doing this podcast and talking to so many different people and them opening up and sharing, it's almost to the point where you're like you kind of like, it's like everybody, no matter what race, creed, culture, whatever, there's always kind of the same types of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like your doppelganger, they say. Like you come across somebody, you're like, man, he's kind of like myself.
Yeah.
I think that's why we vibe so well, because we're kind of alike,
Mm-hmm.
and we all. And if you can start seeing that distinguish through people, it's almost like know when to chime in, or know when to give advice, or know when to just say, you know what, I just should just listen
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
say anything,
Yeah.
because maybe he just needs a vent, you know, and then understanding is like, well, it seems like he's trying to figure it out, maybe I should not throw in my 2 cents real quick and just
Yeah,
let it
let
pan
them
out,
let them kind
you
of
know.
talk and try to figure it out themselves.
And then you'll find some that are like, man, they're actually reaching out,
Yeah,
and maybe I should say something, but then like don't be too,
but that
you
that
know.
comes with experience and time of being around people every day.
Right,
Yeah,
interaction with
yeah.
people
I
and
mean, when you
groups and
stop and
stuff,
think about your job, and you can do what maybe 10 cuts a day, and extrapolate that out to 5 days a week,
Yeah, I
and
see about 50
for
people a week.
50 people a week, 200 a month.
50 people a week, an hour with each person.
Yeah. That's freaking counselors don't get that many people, and so you're sitting with that many people, and how many years have you been barbering?
22 years licensed.
Yeah, so
Barbering for almost since I was 15. I'm 44. So yeah,
yeah,
let's not do the math, but it's a long time.
it's a long time. You're an old motherfucker. No, but so you think about that. You think about that over the years. You've learned how to talk and to negotiate, conversation, and
And negotiate relationship
yeah,
as well.
and that
You
and
know,
that's a knack that you've had to groom. You've had to learn. This you pointed out, like me in the podcast. It's absolutely 100% right. Brian and I were just talking about that earlier today, and we were talking about the earlier podcasts that I've done, and how much of those I spent talking instead of listening.
hmm
To really and truly, if you go back and you listen to some of the earlier podcasts, they're shitty because I wasn't asking questions. I was more making statement,
right.
and it's a learned process. Where what you've been doing for so long is a learned process, and you learn your customers, and you learn who they are, and you learn what you can say. I mean, really, you got some that just want to come in there and get the haircut.
Yes, and I've learned to distinguish those times when
Mm-hmm.
that happens, because they'll do little movements like pull the drape over and look at the ones who do have watches,
Yeah, yeah,
watch
or
it,
picking up the
or
phone.
pull their phone out,
Yeah,
And at that moment, I was like, all right, I'm talking too much,
yeah,
or like I'm taking a little bit longer than I should because we're talking too much,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And they don't want to be rude or,
yeah.
but they're like, yo, man, I gotta go. But I even noticed that even when I go out, I'll run into somebody randomly, or even at the gym, they'll pull like the, oh, yeah,
You gotta
or
go.
they start looking around or
Yeah,
pull their phone out. That's when I was like, all right,
yeah,
they ain't ready for this.
yeah.
But if it's only been 5 minutes and they're already doing that, then I already know what kind of person they are at that point, because I'm like, oh man, they're not, that they're not the talkative type in
No.
that sense.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I've noticed it more of this newer generation, because we're living in a social media world where everything is within 30 seconds or a minute tops. Anything that
Right.
goes fast, further than that, it's like they don't even have the time, but yet they'll sit there and take the time to listen to 130-second videos,
Yeah.
and then a couple hours gone by, but
Co-
then you're like, you won't take the time to listen to a whole video of somebody that's actually trying to, or people that are trying to explain and break things down.
Yeah. No,
We're actually learning from it rather than watching little snippets of so many things, because
Yeah.
that could even be mistreated by just that little snippet, because we don't know if they were proving a point or getting to a point or being sarcastic or being real,
Yeah.
because we didn't take the time to listen to the whole thing.
I wonder also too. Maybe Brian, being younger, could answer it, but I don't even know if young people are even interested in podcasts, because podcasts are typically an hour plus long. Do they have the wherewithal? Are reels and stories on Instagram?
It's a real thing. It's a real reels thing.
REEL, yeah.
But even gotten to the point where even people close to our ages got to that point, because they've been programmed in that sense already.
Yeah.
Because when we did our first podcast, how long was it? It was like 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is this, it's like it seems like only the people we don't know, some few people that that we don't know took the time to actually watch the whole thing. And then when like some of my friends who I told them about, oh man, it was that 2.5 hours, it was a little long. But then I'm like man, I
Yeah.
see you on your phone
Yeah.
longer than that. And I know you lay in bed for at least an hour or two watching reels, these 30 seconds of nonsense, but you won't take the time to listen to like a close friend or whatnot. And then, it just kind of put me in a position where it's like I started seeing the reality of like what's happening today with the attention span because we are now programmed to watch 30-second reels or 1 minute tops.
We're dumbing ourselves down.
You know?
We're not, our minds aren't really open to listen to anybody that's going to carry on a conversation that has any depth or meaning that's going to longer than a few minutes. Going back
Right.
to Brian, what do you think, Brian? Your young people not listening to podcasts and going more towards quick snippets?
I think it kind of depends on like what you're doing, right? Like if I'm me personally, like if I'm laying in bed and I know I'm going to go to bed, even if it's in an hour, but I'm still going to try and go to sleep. Yeah, I scroll on Instagram all the time for like random little
Right.
things or like, if I'm not watching like a TV show, but if I go to the gym for an hour, sometimes instead of listening to music the whole time, I'll listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
Or if I'm in my car and I know that I'm going to be like some people drive a lot for work, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
they drive to work and it takes an hour to get there, an hour back. That's one podcast a day, right? Like I think it kind of just depends on what you're doing. But yeah, I think
I
like
see
my
that,
generation is definitely programmed for quick quick pieces of stuff, but also like new information as fast as possible. And I
Right.
think the thing with like podcasts that people get tired of is like they don't want to listen to one person or two
Right.
people, whatever, one
Yeah.
guest talk about their opinion for 2 hours. Like they want to watch 30-second little clips of like this person's creativity and that person's creativity and that person's blah 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 blah, right? And this is a meme and this is blah blah blah. So yeah, again, I think it just depends on what you're doing.
Yeah,
Because like I said, even adults are doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to that type of training because without even knowing that they're being trained.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well,
You know?
I got it. I have to admit, for me, I love podcasts and I listen to them regularly. But also, like Brian said, I have that type of job to where I'm in my car a lot.
Right.
And podcasts are set up perfectly for that because I can drive someplace in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, be listening to podcasts, get out of the car, go take care of whatever business I need to take care of,
Yeah.
and then I can get back in the car and the podcast picks up right where it left off. And so I can literally listen to a podcast all day long, even though I'm interrupting it by 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, or in between, but I can always come back and pick up.
Right.
So for me, I enjoy them, but I can kind of see where people don't really have the time.
Yeah. It's,
You're at home. You're not going to really be listening to a podcast at the house. You're not going
Right.
to sit in your living room and for an hour and a half or 2 hours and listen to a podcast. Or I think that our podcast goes up, like there are a lot of podcasts that go up on YouTube and we'll get a lot of hits on YouTube. But like Brian pointed out, we're not seeing people sit there for 2.5 hours
Right.
and watch it, and they may come back to it, but, nobody's sitting for any length of time. And I think it's definitely a time issue.
I think so too. It's because we could sit here and say it's still kind of new, but it is. Because it's only been a solid decade since social media has really taken over the way people interact and think and showcase themselves as an individual. Because there's a lot of room to hide flaws.
Yeah.
But the thing is like like what we were saying earlier, like with you doing this and talking to so many people and me as a barber, I get to see the real life aspect of interacting with people. And sometimes, sometimes people just need to vent,
Yeah.
or sometimes they just need somebody to listen, and just like, don't tell me what I need to do or whatnot. Like, I think I know what I need to do. I think most people do,
Right.
you know, and sometimes they just, whether either they're afraid to hear the right answer, even though they know the answer,
Yeah.
or sometimes you just need that nudge. It's just like, hey man, just get your head out your butt, and get going, because
Yeah.
you're just wasting time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that people, especially men, we want to be able to talk about an issue or something that's not personal. It's like you're not going to get too many men come in and start talking about something that's bothering them, because
Right.
men don't do that. We until we figure it out ourselves in our own mind, we have to fix the problem before we talk about it.
It's just like what I said earlier about, I'd rather do my own oil change
Right.
myself. And if I know that it's more than an oil change and I can't fix it, I'm gonna bring it to my mechanic, rather than just bring it to my mechanic and then not knowing who they are, and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, you need a whole new engine, and you're not gonna question that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like what you're saying. This is like, as men, we're gonna fix it first.
Yeah. We're going to fix it first. Yeah, I
Even
can't.
if I break it even more,
Well,
it's okay, because we're eventually gonna
Yeah.
learn from
Well, it's
breaking it even more.
It's like if I come home and I'm obviously in a bad mood because something's bothering me, and Jill will ask, what's wrong? What's wrong? You can talk to me. No, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. I'm good. Don't worry about it. I'm good. No, I'm just bad day. I'll skirt around what the real problem is until I get it figured out in my head.
Yeah.
Then once I get it figured out in my head, I will bring it up and discuss it and talk about it, because I've got a solution.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to come up with something I don't have a solution with, because I'm not going to be patient and listen to somebody else try to
Right.
give me the solution,
Right.
because it may not be what I want to do. And so, and I'm very typical of what I hear most men do. We don't talk about it until we've solved it, and then we will talk about
And
it.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it is just
It's
the way
just,
that we're built.
I don't see that as being insensitive, or
No.
or a negative thing. Like, 'cause, what a lot of people are saying, oh, sometimes you're holding it in too much, and it's like, well, till I'm ready to bring it out, yes, but it's okay for you to check up and just say, hey man, everything good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't.
And if they say, yeah, then let it go.
Yeah.
Then you got to let it go. I think that, this is kind of where we're at in our world today. Society, we're supposed to be more open. We're supposed to be more sharing. We're supposed to
I
talk
think to
about
a
our
certain
feelings.
extent.
But it doesn't fit everybody. It's not going to fit me. That's just not who I am. I'm very talkative, and I like to talk about issues or problems or whatever. But when it comes to me and my problems, I don't want to talk about my problems unless I got a solution. Then I can say, yeah, this was really bothering me, but I decided I was going to go this direction, and it's cool now.
Yeah.
Then I'm okay. I'll talk about it. It's not like I'm trying to keep some kind of an image. I'll talk about my feelings and my problems, but I better damn well have them figured out, because I don't want somebody else telling me how I should fix my problem.
At least without you explaining what you have, you're like, okay, what if I do it this way, this way, this way? Because then now you're reaching out, which is
If you put it as a question,
Right.
this is my problem. I was thinking about doing this, or I was thinking about
Yeah.
doing this. What do you think? Okay, now you've opened it up for discussion.
Right.
That's a whole different thing than, Mike, what's wrong? You're just not yourself today. Yeah, well, I got up and, Jill and I got in this argument, and I'm thinking it's kind of a stupid argument, and I shouldn't have got so mad, but it's really bothering. Well, I think that you need to go home and you need to apologize. And it's like, whoa, put the brakes on here, dude. I'm not asking for an
Yeah.
opinion. You asked me what was wrong. So now I don't even offer up what's wrong unless I say, I was kind of an ass this morning, got kind of, angry, and I'm feeling really bad about it. So I ordered some flowers and had them sent home to tell her I'm sorry. Then I got the solution. And then if they got another way, I would never have done that. Yeah, well, too bad. I already did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes.
I think it's all the balance for sure.
Yeah.
Just balancing how men should be rather than how they are telling them to be, especially today.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, we still need to be men in order to protect ourselves in the sense of like, you don't get bamboozled by somebody else or taken advantage of when you're mentally going through some stuff,
Right.
I think it's just nothing wrong with just checking up and just seeing if they're all right, and then let them open up when they're ready.
When they're ready.
And if anything, even just stop by and just be like, "What's going on?
Yeah.
Everything good? Let's go get something to eat."
Yeah.
But still, let them when they're ready.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna push them away even more.
Yeah, you can't force it, and I think this is one of the areas, not to get into the whole gender thing, men and women, but it definitely is more of a male reaction. It's going, nothing, man, everything's cool,
Right?
Everything's good. Where it's more typical for a woman when she's got a problem and she's talking to another woman. Oh, Mike just left the house today and he was all mad at me and he said this and he said that and and I'm really upset at it. And all of a sudden that becomes a dialogue. Both sides are going to start talking,
which
and have
I think
their
is cool
opinions.
because that's what they do.
That's what they do, and that's okay. I'm not saying don't ever do that. I'm just saying, cool for you to do that.
I think it's the mechanical aspect.
But I'm not going to do it.
I think it's the mechanical thinking that we have as men. We want to fix it first before we share the problem,
Absolutely.
especially to another man.
Yeah.
Because without even realizing or even trying to go out of our way, we want to show that, hey, like I'm a useful human. I'm a useful person, and like I want to show you that I can fix problems even with my own self.
Yeah. It's a strength thing.
Yes. It's not a chauvinist male thing.
No.
It's just kind of like.
But
it's
not. It's not. But it is. It's as a man, and I'll speak just me, just Mike. Not saying it's anybody else. For me, I've got to present myself in a strong manner that I can handle stress. I can handle problems. I can come up with solutions. I don't need to sit and talk about my problems or my stresses or my worries or my anything. I just, I'm going to handle it.
Do you think that comes with the experience of lifestyle as well, on how
I think some of it. I think the confidence of being able to do that comes from a little bit of tenure. It comes with some experience in whatever it is, whether it's relationship experience or work experience or financial experience, whatever that it is. Yeah, I think it definitely takes that knowledge to make solid decisions where maybe 30 years earlier I wouldn't be
right
as solid in my view or my opinion or my solution, but it wouldn't have stopped me from still not opening up and talking about it.
Right.
I would have still, and I think that's where strength comes from. It's the desire to work it out yourself. And I want to see more young boys do that. I want to see more young men stop talking about the shit. Stop talking about the worries and the anxiety and everything else that's going on in the world, and actually man up a little bit and go, okay, my life's kind of fucked up right now. Why is it fucked up? What did I do to get here to do this? And how am I going to work myself out of it? Instead of reaching out to a friend or reaching out to, whoever and turning their problems over to somebody else to
Right.
fix for them. And you see that, a lot in the younger kids coming up, that they're not willing to take on the responsibility of their own life.
Well, I think because nobody has time to actually spend alone time, because their alone time, they're on social media.
Could be true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like before, when we were younger, and honestly, when you look back, it wasn't that long ago. But then a lot has happened. Yes, in the past 10 years, especially when internet came around.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, but the thing is like when you were having a bad day, you were from what what some of the things that I've done, and I've learned that from other people, seeing how they dealt with it. It's just like getting it. When I wasn't driving yet, get on my bike. And I would just mob my bike as far as I can go. And I'm just going through my mind. No music, nothing.
Right.
Or then when I started driving, get in the car, jump on the freeway, and just drive as far as I can till I'm done. Get off, come back on, and drive back home. And it's just like, I think a lot of people did that back then, especially with men, or just sit in the garage for half the day, just...
Yeah.
putting stuff away, but you're actually breaking things down in your head. And I think the problem today is that there's not, people don't allow to have that self-thought process alone anymore.
Right.
Because the first thing they do when they're sitting alone, whether you're waiting or and just taking a little 10-minute break, you're consuming your mind, watching other stuff, swiping through, but you forgot to think about the thing that you were dealing with during the time when you were working or in the middle of whatever you were doing, when you actually are thinking, and you're like, damn, man,
Yeah.
I'm going through some shit right now. But then when you finally have the time, alone time, you're not breaking it down. You're just, and like I said, not just a younger generation, because even the older generation, because I'm seeing it through some people I know. And I'm just like, well, yeah, you're never going to get over your little hump, because the time you have alone to fix those problems, we're not taking that time to fix the problems. We're set off course because we're looking, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, 30 minutes gone by.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I got to get back to what I was just doing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you are, then you're like, oh man, I'm hating this because
your mind never turns off. And I equate this kind of similar. I mean, we've all seen it, where you look at Instagram, for an example, and you see the picture of the young teenage girl, and she's, there's like 6 or 7 or 8 pictures in a row that you would scroll through. And each one of them has the same kind of bent knee, hair thrown back, kind of, glamour shot. And they're all the same. They're all the same.
even with guys.
Yeah, and yeah, guys are doing the same thing, but just in a different way. They're not posing, but they're showing, I'm at the gym or I'm at this. And so what's happening is that by constantly feeding yourself with these types of pictures of other kids, and if you're a young kid and you're watching that, well, you know what? You may not look like that. You may not.
Right.
You may not be able to dress like that. You may not be able to pose like that. Whatever that it is, and all of a sudden, you know what? You're going to feel less than. You're not going to feel like you belong, because
Well, and then you lose
I
focus.
don't fit that image. And going back to what you were saying, even grown-ups not taking the time just to sit and ponder life,
Yes.
their life.
Is the word ponder even used anymore?
No, man.
Is that word even being used today?
I'm
Do you
surprised
sit
Brian
and
didn't
ponder?
cheat in, break in on that
When's the
one.
last time you sat and pondered
On something.
on your life?
Yeah, and
see where you're going.
Well,
and
and that's what you
doing.
were saying, is that older people aren't even doing that, because
Right.
what's ended up happening is they're getting on some social media. They're scrolling through Instagram. They're scrolling through Twitter. And it's not just a young person thing anymore. I just compare it to what young kids kind of go through, but older people are doing the same fucking thing. and they're
Right.
not taking that time just to be alone. Like you said, in days gone by, 10 years, 15 years, whatever, even for 20 for sure, men would be out in the garage sitting on a stool, leaning
Right.
up against a workbench. Their garage is all detailed clean, and they're just sitting there, or they're just wiping something down or whatever, and they're just sitting there, and they're not there just killing time. They're there
Pondering.
thinking.
Or pop the hood up
Yeah,
and check every single thing in your engine, because you're just like,
you're killing time.
you're killing time, but you're pondering
Yeah.
because
My issue, my
You
problem. And I don't see that today. I don't see people taking time out and saying, I got an issue. And even if they do, it appears to me that what I'm watching is people that are taking some time alone only to focus on their problem and not a solution.
right.
And then they want to talk about their problem. They want to bring their problem up to everybody. And they
And
want to
I think that what you're just saying right now, bringing that problem up to everybody, because they want to be part of some, pity club or whatnot, and they were like, oh, there's somebody else just like me. But the issue is, like what you just said earlier, is that you're not focusing on fixing it. You're finding more recruits to share the same problem, but are you guys trying to break down the problem, other than just pointing fingers and blaming somebody else for your problem? The problem is always going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I even tell some of the younger guys that come in, and they're like, oh man, I'm going through some tough times and this and that. I was like, embrace it, take it in, be happy that you having something to battle, so you can, fix it.
Well,
and if you can fix it on your own, it's even better.
Well, it's testing
Right.
yourself. I believe young men need to be tested. Young men need to have their strength, their determination, their drive. All of those things need to be tested, because if you don't test it, you don't know what you're made of.
Well, that's why I would said, either I think everybody should have an option when they get out of high school. You can have a few choices. You can do 2 weeks in the military, 2 weeks in county jail, or 2 weeks doing, public servant for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Just so you know that there are problems out there
Yeah.
that you're going to face some of them, whether somebody's screaming at you or telling you what to do, or you have no choice.
Right. Your freedom's taken.
Your freedom's taken. Or you're just in the bottom of that pit. You've dug yourself a hole.
Yeah.
So
Well,
seeing all that and experiencing, maybe you're going to figure out those problems and fix it.
Well, let's be real. You're gonna live life. You want to grow old. You want to experience things in your life. You're gonna go through some hard times.
Right.
You're gonna go through some shit. You're gonna go through a breakup with a girlfriend. You possibly may go through a divorce. You may even, unfortunately, have to face losing somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all realities of life. You can lose your job. You may get hit with, huge medical bills. There's any number
Right.
of things that can happen through life. And it isn't just what you're going through, it's how you handle what you are going through.
It's so crazy because everybody always like, damn, Todd, seems like you're always happy. Is there any time you get sad? I was like, yeah, of course. I go through some tough times. I was like, but I embrace them.
Yeah.
I embrace them because when something does happen, I sit there and go, all right, okay, that's what we're going to deal with today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? It's almost like I embrace it so much that I'm thankful that it did happen, because now I'm making a change so that doesn't happen again. And obviously there are going to be some things that you won't have any kind of control over,
Right.
But, but I embrace it. Give me the cloudy day, because I'm going to make that cloudy day a fun day somehow. I'm going to make it, okay, you know what? it's raining hard. I'm gonna try my best not to get soaking wet, but I ain't gonna get wet. But how badly do I want to get wet?
Yeah.
So I'm a dip
That-
and dive and ducking through
Yeah.
different things. I'm gonna hop over this little ledge or over this puddle so I don't get my socks wet. And I look at it that way in life as well. Just like, okay, it's a shitty day, but you know what? I'm glad it did because, I've been on a happy day streak. Like nothing's happened
Yeah.
streak, and I knew something's gonna come. And here
Sooner
it
or
is.
later it comes.
So now I can get through this and then go back to that long streak of I got everything under control.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have a little bit of turbulence.
Yeah.
Because when that turbulence is done, you're like, now I can relax.
Yeah.
Now I can put my feet up, and I don't know, whatever you like to sip on or chief on.
Yeah.
You do it with satisfactory of I just battled this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm done. So you prep yourself for the next one to come.
Yeah.
Because it is gonna come.
Well,
when you know it or not.
you are going to fail in life.
Right.
It's just a reality. You can't hide from it. If you don't fail, it just means you're not living life. You're not trying. Because everybody that's trying, everybody that puts themselves on the spot, everybody that takes a little bit of a risk, they call it risk because there's a risk of failure. And if you fail, and I think that it's Jocko that says, when you fail, good. Because you know what? That means you're just going to pick yourself back up and you're going to go at it again. But this time you're going to go at it again with a little bit more knowledge.
Right.
But
why is that such a hard thing to comprehend with a lot of people today?
Well, I don't know. And I would just be personally just guessing.
Because I think we all know right from wrong.
Yeah.
So...
Well,
there are decisions that right from wrong where you can make. But then when something does happen, it's so easy to blame somebody else when it's out of your control. When you're like, hey, my path just crossed with this path without me knowing, and I got to deal with it. I can't blame somebody else. I didn't get pushed over here. It just so happened.
Well, also, too, it's because in life, it's not always somebody's fault. It's not always...
Not even yourself,
Not
right?
even yourself. Sometimes it's just shit happens, And when it does, again, it just goes back to, how do you build character? You don't build character by failing.
Right.
You build character by failing and then rebuilding. You build character by picking yourself up and putting the boots back on and moving forward.
Right.
To my way of looking at it, you never fail. The only time you fail is when you quit.
Yeah, when you give up.
When you give up
Right.
and you quit and you say, that's just too hard, I can't do it, I'm not going to do it, now you're a failure. But until that time, you got a first chance, a second chance, a third chance. You have unlimited chances to turn it and to make it right.
Right.
And you think about the old story about Walt Disney creating Disneyland. I think there was an old I don't know if you remember the name of Art Linkletter.
Mm-mm.
But Art Linkletter was kind of a Johnny Carson kind of guy in the day. Very wealthy man. And Walt Disney was trying to pitch Disneyland in Anaheim.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and Art Linkletter was saying, this guy's trying to pitch this and get me to invest in it. And, this guy, there's no way I'm going to invest with this guy. This guy's been bankrupt like 3 different times. This idea of a Disneyland, stupidest thing, And then Art Linkletter later came back and said, for every step I took and said no, cost me millions of dollars. Because he looked at Walt Disney as being a failure because he had gone bankrupt so many times. Where Walt Disney looked at his failures weren't failures. They were just steps in a progression of getting to where he wanted to go. He never quit. He never gave up. He kept going and ended up, I mean, we all know the story.
Yeah, that's actually, you know who I think the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy says that same
Does he?
story. He's like, you know, something about make your riches through debt. But you know, that's like a whole nother.
That's a whole nother
'Cause
conversation.
when it comes to money for me, I'm a barber. It's strictly cash.
Yeah.
I only get what I can get.
Yeah. No more.
So
Yeah.
I focus on things that are, you know, I find joy in things that are like, you know, somewhat free.
Yeah.
Like surfing. That's why I love surfing. That's why I love skating.
Yeah.
You know, that is time spent on my own for free. I mean, yeah, I got to do a little investment, but the rest is up to me to make it.
Well, also too,
You know.
like you're talking about, you know, we were just, you know, talking about the word pondering. You know, what better place to go out and ponder than on your surfboard?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're around friends and, you know, whatever, but there's a lot more alone time
There is.
than there is, you know, conversation out in the water.
Well,
You got the whole paddle out. Then you get out there out in the lineup. Then you're looking for waves and you're kind of scooting around. You got a lot of time, and it's not all thinking about surfing.
And that's the thing, you know, because people always tell me, they're like, so do you go by yourself or with friends? I was like, even if I go with my friends, it's still a by yourself sport, because the moment you guys all paddle out in that water, you're probably chatting with them for only a few seconds, and then one catches a wave, and he's going to be 50 yards down the line. And sometimes you're just like, I ain't trying to paddle back. I'm just going to stay right here because I'm going to catch another wave to take me back the other way. And then you catch a wave, and then you're going the same direction he's going, but you're still 50 yards away. So you just end up by yourself anyway. So you just focus more on you know, trying to catch as many waves as you can, work on the moves that you're trying to do. But in the between times during the waiting, you do a lot of pondering. And that's when I do find, you know, when I'm staring out into the mass ocean, and then I just sit there and I just start thinking about stuff. Sometimes I'm giving thanks. Sometimes I'm thinking about loved ones and lost ones and whatnot. Or sometimes thinking about work and how I can make work better, and or a situation, whatever. If I have some issue with my girl, what could I do to fix it or enhance it, or anything, whatever it may be. Oh, my fucking car is leaking. You know, I need to fix that shit. You know.
Well, and you said something
You know?
else. Yeah, you said something else in there though
Like,
that's
man, my
really
shoulders.
yeah.
I gotta do more pull-ups.
But you said something in there that's really important too. And you said you're sitting out there and you're pondering, and you know sometimes you just be giving thanks. People forgot to do that.
Yeah.
I don't hear too many
gotta
people
give thanks.
talking about giving thanks for all the good in your life, because if you are not valuing and appreciating some of the good things in your life, dude, then your whole life is just about shit. It's about bad stuff, because you're not recognizing all the good things. I mean, everybody, no matter who they are, where they are, no matter what position they think that they're in, you can still find things to be thankful for.
Right.
You know,
And I think a lot of that stems with, like what I was saying, even when you get that tough day, you know,
Yeah.
I embrace it. I'm
Exactly.
like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Let me see, with everything that I know now, what could I do to, you know, what could I do with the skills that I've had and learned from the time, you know, with the age that I'm at and things I've gone through. How am I going to get through this one, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's coffee first. That's what I was doing. So if anybody's thinks that the microphone's off, or sees me on YouTube walking around. What were we saying?
Giving thanks.
Yeah.
And I was explaining, like, even when you have the tough days, and tough situations, embrace that too.
Yeah.
Not saying like, thanks for giving me a bad day, but just say, okay,
Yeah.
you know, here we go, another test.
Yeah. Nobody likes, you know, I think both of us.
We can't pretend that you're gonna have like every day. And I had this discussion with a friend of mine a long time ago in the barbershop. There's always these barbershop things, and they were like, one day we're gonna find peace and everybody's gonna be in harmony. And I'm like, it's not gonna happen.
No.
It won't happen. And they're like, well, you don't have faith. I was like, that's not something you put faith in. You got to put there's a time to have faith, right? And there's a time of reality. And the reality is this: human beings, regardless of culture, color, creed, whatever lifestyle you live, reality is reality, and who you are as a person is going to show regardless of your background, because your personality is who you represent. You can always better your personality, or you can just live in your personality and say, you know what, I don't care what everybody else thinks. I am who I am, and I'm going to be who I am. But you know, you got to take in what comes with your actions and how you act with your personality as an individual, because you cannot use culture, family, whatever you're involved in, because no matter what, when you strip all that out, it's still you as you.
Yeah.
If you put a blanket in front of you and I can't see you but only hear you, I'm going to judge you based off how I hear you. And if I can see your action without even looking at whatever culture you come from, I'm going to just judge you based off that. The way you sound and the way you act. Because everything else is irrelevant from that point on, because I'm going to show you how I'm feeling based off your personality. We're either going to come close and be like, cool, or I'm going to be like, you know what? You're not the person that I need in my life. But do I cut you off? Maybe. Or I might stick around and be an example that maybe you might see something better. But then that's a choice that I have to make.
You have to make.
Because now I'm sacrificing my time. But that to me is intriguing because it's exciting.
Well, it's also
because you're learning as you're.
It's right, but it's also a slippery slope at times.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is that if you start associating with people, and people that have an issue with wanting to be needed and wanting to always help somebody, it's very difficult because they end up associating with the wrong people,
right?
Thinking that they're going to be an influence and they're going to be able to help, and a lot of times that has the opposite effect. Mm-hmm. Instead of the person helping this person that they think needs it, that person is dragging the other person down.
Right.
And it's really dangerous to be associating with people that, are not good people.
You're right. You're right, because it does take a certain type. And I think for me, going through all the stages in life, all the things that I've gone through, from traveling a lot, and not just traveling, like I moved a lot, and not just cities and states or whatever. I traveled countries, and I had to either adapt and learn from the different places I've learned from the countries I've lived at, going to school, dealing with the kids from school, dealing with the kids in the neighborhood, and dealing with the adults, and my peers and stuff during that time, and then going to another country, and then even here in America, Southern California is way different from Northern California, and then my family that lives in the Midwest, way different. But I can't sit there and try to push other ideologies from different places I've lived. I just sit and listen and learn and just come to break everything down and just know, back to what I was saying, characters. Mm-hmm. Your character. How are you behaving as a person, regardless of your background or where you're from. I just focus more on that. So if you're cool, you're cool. If you're funny, you're funny. If you're an asshole, you're the asshole. And if you're a bad guy, you're a bad guy. But then you might be a bad guy, and if I can see that you have a good heart, I might stick around a little bit. Mm-hmm. But if you're a bad guy or person and it's leading to self-destruction and is pushing towards me, and I'm just like, look, I stuck around long enough, when to jump ship.
Right.
Without feeling bad. Because the reality is, some are gonna go that way and never look back, and some go that way and do look back and say, "Damn, man, you were right."
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that everybody does have opportunities and does have, deserves chances to prove that they can change, be a better person, be a giving person, be a loving person, be a happy person. Those are all the qualities that, you want to look at in somebody that you're going to bring close to you, or close to you and to your family. But you have to really be careful too, because if that person, like you said, is not showing signs
It can
of
hinder you as
getting
well,
better
yeah.
and changing, you need to cut the ties, because it does drag you
It'll definitely hinder
down
you down, yeah,
down with it.
for sure.
That's and it's difficult, because you don't want to be an ass yourself and not give people opportunities, but you got to do it in a smart way and do it from a distance to begin with. You can't stay close, and tied to the hip to somebody that you're not really sure of.
Mm-hmm.
If they've proven themselves over some time, that's a whole different story. But if they
Yeah.
keep making the same mistakes over and over,
Yeah.
that's when you have to, for yourself, for your family, for your happiness, for your joy, all those things, that you need to pull back.
Yeah.
It's just, that's just another truism of life, that, you have to have some self-preservation, because there's not always good people around.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, sometimes I feel like some people, and it sounds crazy, but I feel like some people exist to be examples of either what to be or not, or what not to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sucks thinking it that way, because you're like, damn, that's a waste of soul or person.
Yeah.
But who are we to judge, right?
Yeah, exactly right. You can't judge like that. But you do know that they're out there, and it's like your friend says something about, all of us living in peace and harmony together. It's a great concept.
It's a great concept. Of course, everybody would love to think that.
Yeah, but the reality is, there are Putins in the world.
Well, there's going to be that one guy
Yeah.
who's going to go, everybody's too happy. I'm bored of this.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to go break that fence down.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go past and,
Well-
and go beyond where I'm not supposed to go. And everybody's like, dude, what are you doing, man? It's crazy out there. You shouldn't be going. You're going to fuck up everything over here.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then he's going to
What's-
throw rocks back at you.
Well, what's
Because
actually
it's funny to him, or whatever it may be, you know?
What's actually more dangerous in situations like that, if you got a world that's all peace and harmony and laughter and happiness and joy, that means nobody's aggro. That means nobody's walking around with their chest up and their shoulders back, and nobody's walking around with a lot of strength, because they don't need to be. Well, it's going to get somebody.
Right, exactly.
At some
That's
point,
going to be like, man,
it's
I'm over
gonna-
this.
No, not even say he's over. He's going to look around and he's going to say, this is easy pickings. Nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to stand up for themselves. Everybody wants to just be happy and be laughing and be joyful. I'm going to own this place. I'm going to
Right.
control this place. And that's when you're going to get some dictator. That's when you're going to get some
But
guy that's going to start
because
turning.
That's the reality of human nature,
Unfortunately, yeah.
and it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks,
But that
but
goes...
it's okay because it builds characters like you and I and him.
Well, that...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about in the very beginning,
Right.
about men being strong,
Right.
about growing young men up to being strong men.
Yeah.
Because right now there's a tendency to grow weak men. And I say that very carefully, I guess. I mean, I don't know how careful that
Well,
was.
let's
That
just
was
say-
pretty much,
Yeah.
blatant. But
Well, let's just say it like this: instead of saying creating weak men, what they're trying to create this haven of this self-righteous peaceness that in reality that's creating weak men, because without any type of like a pushback, there's no reason to make yourself stronger
Right.
or prepared
Yeah.
for if something does happen.
Yeah.
You know, and then when something does happen, everybody's fighting to hide behind each other's back.
Right.
When most of the time, you know, we're dealing with some ups and downs. You got a lot of men and even some women who's gonna stand up and build and be that wall and be like, no, you ain't getting past me.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, because this ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
I know what this is. It ain't gonna happen today. You're gonna have to get through me.
Yep.
And that's all right. And if they want to hide behind you, then you know what? At least we know I can't count on your ass.
That's true.
Go pick the vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
You're
if
not,
this was a post-apocalyptic world,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna get. I don't want you, you know, guarding the gate or
Right.
putting up the fence because that fence is gonna probably break. You're gonna go out there and you're gonna
Well, because if we have post-apocalyptic,
you're gonna get your hands dirty somehow.
yeah, if we have post-apocalyptic, happenings at some point in time, the opposing side, there's not going to be nice. They're not
Right.
going to come to your gate and knock, on the gate or ring the doorbell.
Like, excuse me.
Excuse me,
Do
you
you
mind
have
if we-
some great poupon?
Yeah, excuse me. Do you mind if we just come in and rape and pillage?
Can I get your sugar and
Yeah,
tea?
no, they're not going to do it. They're going to be some mean, out of control people that that want what you have, and not saying that this is going to be our future and that's what's going to happen, but I'm just saying that men need to be strong, and we need to raise our boys to be strong, to take a little bit of abuse from one another and learn and toughen and it's not always going to be sugar and spice.
And
It's
that
not always
with
gonna be easy.
educating, with that and educating the levels of the if they're going out of their way to like break you down, you got to speak up.
You got to speak up. Yeah.
But I mean, if you're just dealing with just normal hardship, you're going out and you're struggling at school, so you're like, well, you're just trying to find yourself, like it's okay to go through that. Or if you're like trying to find that job and you're just getting turned down and you're just like, you know what, it's okay to go through that because you're gonna figure something out that's gonna benefit you for the better, and that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to get your heart broken,
Yeah.
because now maybe she wasn't the one,
Yeah.
or fighting your best friend or fighting somebody that might turn into your friend. It's okay. You're gonna, you might get that black eye, but that heals, But then there are levels, like I said, if you're getting abused, you might need to speak out because
gotta speak up
that could
because
cause long-term effects as well.
Yeah.
And that's okay to understand those levels of being a tough man or individual, because we do need to understand the severity of those levels. But we gotta go through some tough times to build character.
Well, also
know?
too, when we talk about tough times, it's not always have to be our own tough times.
Right.
Right. I can be walking down the street and I can see somebody bullying, somebody much weaker. And it's up to me as a man to step up and go, what the fuck?
And I did that in high school.
Yeah.
I did that with people and with some friends where I'm just like, he's not like that, man. He's not, so I'm gonna stick up for them. Yeah. And it's a good trait as a
Right.
as a person, to have, especially as a man, because, it's just like, you don't want nobody to be overpowered and taken advantage of,
No. No, it doesn't, and it doesn't do the person that's being taken advantage of or being abused or whatever the situation is. It's obviously not doing him any good.
Right.
It's not doing any of the passerbyers that are seeing this happen any good because they shrink away and they become worried and they become stressful. So you've got one individual that's being, aggressive towards somebody, and if you can stand up to it and stop it and stop him from doing that, it not only helps the person, that is being abused, but it helps other people that are watching to get some hope and say, you know what, there are good people in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of my true beliefs, that the world is full of more good people than they are bad people. All right, we're back. We had a little power outage there. So,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, the conversation so far, you know, is really good, because I think that where we are at right now in society is not a bad place.
No, I think
It's not a bad place. I think it's so easy to criticize it, and I think that we live in a kind of a fishbowl environment where everything that's being done, everything that people do or say or whatever, is magnified. And only thing that sells news and advertising is bullshit. You know, is the bad. And so we live in this constant bombardment of bad stuff. But I really believe, like what we were saying before the power went out, was that there are a hell of a lot more good people in our world than there are bad people. And, you know, my neighbors up and down my street that I live on are all good people. People that I meet at the grocery store, well, good people. You know, it's.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think I heard somebody said this earlier, that I don't think we're meant to have all the information that's going around, not just within our own city, but we're like listening to information from different states, other cities, other countries, other cities and countries, and other boroughs in other countries, where we're like, I can only do so much with this information. I gotta worry about mine now and what I have going on, because every month this bill comes and I gotta pay it. Don't have time for assistance. I don't have time to wait for the government to come up with a solution to make my life better.
Right.
I know the blueprint in life. I know what I need to do. And everything is out there. There's no excuses. You cannot use you can sit there and try to use this race thing or cultural background that's hindering you from whatever. No, you can get it. You can make it happen. I've seen it.
Well,
You know, I know it exists.
I'll tell you this: when the whole world was going really wacky, you know, during that whole COVID period of time, and you know, then we had the defund the police movement, we had the Black Lives Matter movement, we had every fucking movement that you could think about raising its head at that time, and I made it a point for a while, first of all, to notice people around me. And I would go to the grocery store and I would be walking down an aisle. And it didn't matter if they were Asian, if they were black, if they were Mexican, or, you know, they were white, or it didn't matter. If I saw somebody walking towards me down an aisle at a grocery store, I made it a point to say, hey, how you doing today? Having a good day? Oh, yeah. Never did I come across somebody that didn't answer me or was rude.
Right.
Everybody was always nice. Everybody was pleasant. Always had something positive to say. And I'm telling you, Black Lives Matter was a huge, big thing. Black man, black woman, talked to. It was like we're next door neighbors, have been friends forever. Could have been Mexican, could have been Asian, could have been older, could have been younger. I just made it a point to talk to everybody, and everybody that I talked to was nice. And it made me realize I am not special. It made me realize I am not out of the ordinary. I'm about as middle class, normal, average American person as anybody else. What I like is not extraordinary. I like a good burger. I like fries. I don't eat fries a lot because I know they're not good for me, but I like them. You know.
Yeah.
I like good dessert. I like good food. I like the beach. I like the sunshine. I like family. I like everything everybody else likes. I like.
Right.
Or everything I like, everybody else likes. Makes me feel like I am safe and secure in a huge group of people. Now, are there a left and a right? Yeah. If I'm with 90% of society down the middle, in the middle, looking out for my family, looking out for my best interest and their best interest. If I'm nice, if I'm try to be happy, if I try to be joyful, of all those things that everybody else is and that everybody else takes, seriously, we're 90% of a large, strong group. And the left at 5% and the right at 5%. And those people are bitching and arguing and throwing stones at one another. And they're making it sound like we all feel that way. I'm sorry, they need to get off their fucking little soapbox, come down into the neighborhoods, real neighborhoods where people live with families, where people are driving their cars, going to work, coming home, baseball on Saturday,
Yeah.
Girls volleyball on tournaments on the weekend, and going to Disneyland, going to the beach, going to have a nice life. That's what we do. And I'm just a part of a whole group of people that all does the same thing. And we're not bitching and complaining every day.
Right.
And that's how I look at life, is that, and I have a lot of faith in my brothers and my sisters that are just like me, that push comes to shove, we're going to stand up, and we're going to stand up together.
That's why I said before on our old podcast we did, I'm waiting for the aliens to come. Bring them on so we can just forget about everything and just work together for just to stay alive. No, but but the reality is, like, you gotta. I think we all need to understand that there is a balance with everything, and we just need to know where you stand and what can you contribute to keep things moving and going forward.
Yeah.
It's easy to blame, but the reality is we all make our own decisions individually, and it's just like what before the power went out. It's like, with all these certain problems, they try to find solutions and be like, oh, it's maybe the dad's not in town, or mom's not there, or broken family, or this or that, or this or that, And I come from a very, did my mom and dad go through some problems? Of course they did, but they got through it. But even with that being said, they were always there, had great parents. I did very well in school, but I wanted to be out there in the streets. I made those choices. I got caught for some things. I did my time. And then with that being said, being inside, going through juvenile hall and even through county jail and learning the thing about humanity, especially with men, just like we all create our own rules within the lifestyle that we're living. There's all these, boundaries and unwritten laws and that we all abide by somehow, But the thing is like when you come into one and then you go into another and then you go to another, the thing is that I focus mostly on, just like I said earlier, was just like, you see the characters of each individual and why they pose their position in each part in wherever I was at. But that's just life in general. So if somebody is a leader, that's what he's gonna be. But you can't be jealous because he's the leader, because he's better than that at you. So know your place. I'm more of a jokester. So I'll play the, the Joker.
And you do it so
you
well.
know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, know your place and be good at it. Can you better yourself? Of course. But don't, like, we got to stop blaming our lives based off some other things because we're afraid to take acknowledgement of our own failures.
Well, and to
take,
to take that even one step further is that you get to a certain point. We've already agreed through our conversation, everybody makes mistakes.
Right.
We've already agreed everybody's going to fail at something at some point. There's no, that's just part of living life. Okay, so you fail at something or something doesn't quite go your way and it's 10 years down the road. Forgive yourself. Stop looking back and saying, if only I would have, or I should have, if only that didn't happen, or what. It doesn't matter. It fucking already happened.
Yeah.
And it's part of your history, and it's part of your life. You can either take that and make that a stepping stone and be stronger because of it, or you can go ahead and let that control and ruin the remaining part of your life. You can let that get in the way of other good decisions. You can let that get in the way of growth. I have seen people that have ruined relationships, marriages, because they couldn't get over something that happened to them in the past where they're bitter about, or it cost them, a position, or I would have been better off, or I should have done this. All the would have, could have, should haves in the world are not going to fix your current problem.
And I think that's because it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Well, it's a cop out.
Yeah. It's easy to cop out. It's easy to do that.
It's a definite cop out. Bye, Steven.
I'll see you guys. Enjoy it.
But it is hard. But it is hard to battle. But that's what makes us, that's what makes us a character.
Yeah. That builds character. That creates a new layer of person, a new layer of that character, a new layer of that persona. And the only way you're going to do it is by choosing to grow, choosing to make the mistakes in the past a stepping stone to something bigger and better, or forgive yourself and we've all made mistakes, man.
Oh yeah, all and you know what's funny? Because right when you were explaining that, it made me think of a situation I put myself into, and I do this a lot. And I know it's funny, but when other people might be taking it like, man, that's stupid, But sometimes I put myself in situations because I want to see it out, and it may be a little extreme at times, but I hype myself up because I say this: if I get through this, regardless if it goes either way, I'm gonna be able to tell this story. And I know it sounds crazy, but like here's a situation. When I was in my mid-20s, I was going back to the Philippines and staying a month at a time. And I like to smoke weed, so I was like, how can I bring my California weed over to the Philippines? Because they don't really have that out there. And so I was like bringing it on and stuffing it in my underwear and going through the flights. Now, this is early 2000s. They weren't, the way the security was a lot different. But there was a time where I went and I had like a half ounce of just good herb on me in my underwear. And we had to go to China first. We get to China, and I have my skateboard on my backpack because I traveled my skateboard everywhere I went. And I've already done this already, 3 years straight in a row. But this day, for some reason, the guy goes, you can't take that skateboard with you on your flight to the Philippines. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I just flew 15, 16 hours with this skateboard. If I was going to do something crazy with this skateboard, I would have done it. I wouldn't do it on a 2-hour flight to the Philippines. You crazy? But it's hard, language barrier, whatnot. Pretty much was like, you got to check that in. So I'm like, oh, here, take it. He goes, no, you got to do it yourself. So I had to leave the airport, travel to the other side of the airport, and check myself in as if I was in China. So it was a 6-hour delay. So I was like, well, since I'm outside, I'm going to skate. So I skated outside of the thing. But the thing was, I forgot that I had that weed on me. I have it taped in my groin. So I go in and I realize, oh my God, I'm going to their security checkpoint. And I don't know how theirs is because it was always a connecting flight. I was already inside, never had a problem. So I get in line and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, should I get rid of this? Or should I just take the chance and keep it on me? You know, I might get through, I might get caught. I'm in China, and I did read the letter that says, you know, bringing, you know, drugs and whatever could be, you could be punishable for long-term lifetime sentencing or punishable up to death.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. It's playing over and over in my head. I'm getting closer and closer in line, and I passed 2 trash cans already, and I could have dipped out to the bathroom. But I told myself, I'm going to go through this. Because if I get caught, we'll see what happens. And if I survive it and I get back, I'll have a crazy story. I might write a book about it. And I allowed that thought process to go through it. And I went through it. And nothing happened, thank goodness. But I put myself in that situation because, you know, it's just like, that's the character I am. And I know it's not for everybody. I don't put, you know, but that was one of the risks that I took because I wanted to see how far I can go for myself. And with that being said, I'm just saying it's like sometimes taking chances to better your character is necessary as a man, whether it's good or bad. Nobody was going to get hurt other than myself.
Other yourself, yeah. Yeah. Would you make that same decision today?
No.
Yeah.
No. You know?
And that goes to my belief system is that we grow with life experiences.
Right.
We grow with the idea and the thought of where I'm at today. At that point in time, you probably had nothing really to lose except for your freedom.
Yeah, because I was like, man, I'm 24 at that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, my son was like 6 years old. And I was like, you know.
He's got a good mom, whatever.
The family's there, you know. And I'm like, you know, my mom and dad, they'll be fine. They'll understand this, you know. I'm like, who's going to come visit me? I was thinking all this stuff in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, but if I get through, if I did get caught and I got through it and somehow got out, I get to tell a story. And whatever I went through, and I based a lot of that because of the times I spent going to jail and this and that and you know, putting myself in situations where like I knew right from wrong, but I did it anyways because I wanted to see the outcome from it. And yes, it did bite me in the butt at times. You know, I did put myself in situations where it could have cost my life. Mm-hmm. But now, you know, the thing is like I understand life a little bit more better. So when I talk to people or when I, you know, come across people that sit in my chair, I share these experiences because whatever they're going through, I hope these stories somehow like, you know, look at their problems and say, damn, man, fucking Todd's crazy. You know what? My shit ain't even that bad.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm not ashamed.
I don't know. Going to fucking China with weed in your crotch is pretty fucking. That's pretty fucking nuts.
But you know, like the thing is like, I talked myself into it as if I got caught, and I lived through it, whatever happens, I get to share this story, and hopefully nobody, you know, somebody will learn from it. But I was willing to put myself through it.
Right.
Is it dangerous? Yes. Is it dangerous mentally, thought process-wise? Yes. But the thing was, I was already experienced so much other stuff already that I was intrigued by it, you know? But like I said, right from wrong, nobody was going to get hurt other than my own self, you know what I'm saying? So I took that as a freestyle mission of stupidity.
I'm glad you prefaced that in that manner. Yes.
You know,
because I'm about ready to do a disclaimer. You know, please, children, don't try this at home.
But you know, the thing was, it was like I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm so secure of how I can handle things that I was willing to take that risk. Dumb, yes, but the thing was, it was me understanding who I am. You know, that's pretty much what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, yeah.
I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know the right from wrong. And, you know, like I said, a lot of my intentions are not to ever hurt anybody. But I do put myself in situations where I'm like, yeah, I could have thought about that a little bit better, you
Yes,
know? But I
yes.
was so enthralled and thrilled from the excitement of it
Yeah.
that I did.
Next time you get that feeling, think about go climb Everest or something. That's no, but I understand it on a certain level. I don't know that I would ever put myself in that kind of a situation where I'm risking my freedom, but I do believe in putting yourself at risk in a lot of other fashions. It's I mean obviously the conversation that you were having at the table about some of my past sporting experiences, those are all risk,
Yeah,
and some
yeah.
of them I put my life at risk, and crashing a bike at 100 miles an hour is, it's not rational, but the risk was always there, but it wasn't the intention.
Right, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it was just that was just part of the risk of racing motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing for today. At 70 years old, I'm still doing outrigger canoe paddling, and it's nothing for me to be in my one-man canoe by myself, nobody out on the water, and paddle offshore a mile or maybe two, where anything can happen.
Yeah.
Somebody reminded me, forgot who it was or when it was, but being 70 years old, you shouldn't be doing it on your own. You could have a heart attack and nobody would know. True, but there's also something really
Right.
thrilling and exciting about being on the water that far away by yourself, to where you really take life and shrink it down onto the size of a pinhead, because you feel so small and so insignificant. So it's cool to do things like that. I agree with you. That's it's no different than you surfing. If you paddle out and it's triple overhead, and you make it out into the lineup, and the consequences of getting launched or falling, or I mean, it's not always a death thing, but it's pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So it's
And we do definitely face that a lot as surfers.
Yeah.
Being in the water, that uncontrolled essence of nature is a scary thing, because I think that's the only sport. I mean, I can't think of any other sport. There's no timeout. There's no like, wait.
no,
Because when it's coming, it's coming.
yeah,
And I think I can't think of any other sport. I mean, unless you're like, I mean, no, like what, downhill racing on a dirt trail. I mean, you can always hit the brakes.
yeah. You can
but
always slow it down, stop
Yeah,
it.
but
The mountain isn't moving.
right, but the way like surfing, I can't see any other sport that can really outdo that type of like quest, because there is no timeout. There is no like, well, hold on, man. Let me take a break real quick. Because when those waves come, they come.
And they don't care who you are. They don't care how much
No,
experience
they
you
don't
have. They don't think
exactly.
anything. Did you see the Eddie Ika?
Yeah.
Waimea.
Yeah.
Huge, huge, huge. Well, yet some of the world's best big wave riders out there, they got caught off guard.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had a couple of rogue waves come through
Right.
and wipe out the lineup. So,
Yeah, that's true,
It
and
freaking
it's
happens.
that's what I was like. I think surfing has saved my life in so many ways, in the sense of like me understanding that life can be just gone like that.
Yeah.
I had a scare in Mexico. A leash broke. This isn't like a sandy reef. This isn't, it was big jagged rocks, and I was my sweatsuit was filling up with water because I was kept duck diving. I was caught in the middle, in the inside, and one after they were coming in multiples of 3s and 5s. And no matter which way I was swimming, I would go sideways, and it was just like it's just another wave over there. To the point where I was getting so tired, and I saw my buddy come up, riding a wave, and I waved down. And he comes up, and I grab onto his board. I was like, just let me rest for just a quick second, because my wetsuit's filling up with water. Because I'm just getting churned up. And then the set comes, I push him away, and I just dove. I just went down as far as I can till it came up, and then I started. I came to that thought of like survival. So I was like, what am I doing? Why am I trying to swim? I'm a body surf this wave in. So I did, one wave after another one till I got close enough. I could put my feet down, got out, took some deep breaths. I was like, oh my God, what was I doing? What was I thinking?
Yeah.
It's huge today. I could have died.
Yeah.
Went, grabbed my board, stupid leash. It was killed me. What'd I do? I went back out to the car, grabbed a new leash, and paddled back out.
Yeah. Because that's what we do, man. That's what you do.
I just almost died,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I went back out.
But had you not gone back out, you've always questioned
It would have been my, that would have like haunted me.
Yeah. Forever and ever.
That would have haunted me.
Well, how could I have gone back out there? Could I have
You know,
redeemed myself?
right.
Could I have gotten more waves? What, yeah. You, again, quitting because something is uncomfortable, is, it's not good, because you're going to always be thinking about it. You're always going to be thinking about, you had a second chance and you didn't do it.
Right.
And it's it's like guys that, join, go into the Navy SEAL training program, and they're out there and they're doing buds, and they're in the water and they're holding boats and they're not sleeping and it's dead ass tired, and nobody's blaming anybody for giving up. Nobody's blaming anybody for ringing the bell and walking away, because it's freaking hard, and it takes really a special individual to see it all the way through and to graduate. And that's why they do it, because that's the individuals that they want. But guys that have quit always look back at the day they quit and question it.
Yeah.
And it's just a part of a man's makeup. It's part of who we are. It's part of our, it's that male DNA. We're warriors. We're gatherers. We're hunters. We're, by nature. Yeah, okay, I'm not going hunting. I've never hunted a day in my life. But I know, push come to shove, and that's the only way I'm going to get food. Damn right, I'll go hunt. I'll go do it. It's just that it's easier for me to go to pavilions now, so I don't do it. And the idea of killing somebody or something is not something I want to give thought to. But if it was me, or if it was me doing that and killing a pig and eating or starving to death, yeah, definitely do.
Well, I think it's just we have that embodied in our structure as a male, human being, in the position that we're in, especially as a dad, as a family man, where, you wake up every day to provide, to protect, and yeah, we don't have to hunt, for our stuff, but best believe, if it came down to it, like I'll be out there with the pack. We're gonna go get some food. Whether I'm gonna learn today or tomorrow, I'm gonna be out there though.
Yeah.
You can count on me.
Yeah. As a husband, as a father, as a provider, we will do whatever we need to do. One will do whatever we need to do, protect the family and make sure the family is secure. And if that means in today's world you've got to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're dead ass tired, but still get up in the morning and you put your boots on and go to work and do what you got to do, you do it.
Yeah.
You do it. You don't fucking quit. You don't snivel. You don't try to find the easy way out. You man up and go do what you're supposed to do because you've got responsibilities and you have people looking up to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't ever want my children or my wife to look down on me. I want them to always look at me as that strong person that can provide. And am I freaking strong all the time in my own mind? No. There's a lot of fucking times like you out there in the water, you know, wetsuits filling the water. You're fucking scared.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with being scared. Scared is part of the survival process and fills your body full of adrenaline.
Yeah.
That gets you going. Yeah, there are a lot of times I'm scared. There's a lot of times I'm scared not about something physically happening to me. There's been times in my life where I've been scared financially.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times I've been scared with work or my job. There's been times when I just been scared in my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, being scared is not negative. It's what you do with that fear that's important.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Now you're going to be a dad again, and
Yeah.
you got all that stuff to look forward to.
I know. We'll save that on the next note. That's a full. I got a lot to talk about with that one
Oh yeah, that's going to be a fun one.
because this is a whole new battle.
Yeah,
You know, I got a girl.
that's right, Dad. You know it.
Well,
Believe me, I've had a few.
yeah,
I've had a few of them. All right, bud. Hey,
that
man.
was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
To the next chapter.
Yeah. Oh, we got a lifetime of these things going to be happening between me and you.
Socials, Todd. You got an Instagram.
Oh,
Surfing Barber.
There you
Surfing
go.
Barber. Come, hit me up if you need a haircut. Long Beach.
yeah. Is that the Instagram?
Surfing Barber.
Surfing Barber?
Simple.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to spell it, but it's 2 words. So, Surfing Barber.
Yeah. We'll get you. All right, brother.
All right.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Yes,
you
sir.
always. Love you.
Love you too.